Well, welcome along to the Timeform Sporting Life Weekend Best Bets. David Ord joined by Ben Linfoot and Matt Brocklebank to preview action at Newbury and Ayr. We're going to start in Scotland with the Virgin Bet Ayr Gold Cup, for which, appearing on screen as we speak, show with the Timeform ratings graphics. They're magic of TV there. Top of the shop, Matt, 1-2-2 Rohan, a pound clear of American Affair. From a handicapping perspective, are you surprised or not to see Rohan top of the shop?
No, not surprised at all. This is he's a 6-year-old now, isn't it? It feels like he's been around forever, this horse. But he's been a brilliant servant for David Evans. You think back through his profile, he was winning handicaps off mark of 55 back in the day. He's a bit like a Highfield Princess, isn't it? He's gone right through the ranks. Not quite to Group 1 level, but he won a Group 2 as a 3-year-old. He's won a couple of Wokinghams, including one off a mark of 112. So a fantastic 6-furlong sprinter. Loves a big field, loves a handicap. I suspect at this stage of his career, just 6-year-old legs, and he is a son of Mason, I think, isn't he? I think softer ground might have been absolutely perfect for him when coming into an Ayr Gold Cup, but he's very well handicapped, runs off 96 now. So yeah, really well treated. He loves Ascot, but he ran quite well at Ayr last year in this race. Fast finishing 7th, beating less than 2 lengths, so comes here with a great chance.
Time for our first video clue now. Another of the big sprint handicaps. It's a Stewards Cup. Scoop, what do you want to talk us through from this?
Yeah, well, key form race, Dave, as you would expect. Another big field sprint handicap. You've got Mostabshire in the Shadwell Silks towards the stand side, and Billy Joe, who finished 3rd over on the far side in the red, black and white silks. Yeah, I think those two are key players here. They both found their way towards the top of the betting, and you can absolutely see why. Billy Joe, for a start, he was sort of drawn on the wrong side here. He had to come through horses. He was stopped in his run. It was a really good effort to finish 3rd. He has come out and flopped at York since, so you do have to give him a below par run on the Naves Mare. Whereas the Shadwell horse, Mostabshire, this was his first ever go at 6 furlongs, and with that in mind, considering his back class, I think he's a massive player under Jim Crowley. So yeah, 2 key form horses there.
Matt, another video clue. It's the Skybet Constantine at York. Another very competitive handicap. Stripe Red and Comanche Falls are 2 from this.
Yeah, Stripe Red's had a really busy summer, hasn't he? This weekend it'll be his 7th start since the beginning of June. So this was one of his very good days. He does tend to come good around this time of year. And again, when he slips back to a mark in the low 90s, which he runs off on Saturday. His big win at the Curragh last year, if you remember, he absolutely flew at the death to get up. And this day, here on the far side there with the noseband, Stripe Red, I think he probably got there a little bit too soon. He was kind of sauntering towards the front. He's a strong travelling horse, so loves a big field. It was still a really commendable run. Comanche Falls ran his usual solid race under a big weight here, and he's got top weight in the Ayr Gold Cup. He's actually subsequently run below par since in the Beverley Bullet, but he was 2nd in the Ayr Gold Cup a couple of years ago. He's only £2 lower. So I think Comanche Falls is probably handicapped up to the hilt. Stripe Red has a good each-way chance, I'd say, given a strong gallop on decent ground.
Progressive horse beating that day as well, didn't he, in Monjed at the time. Let's talk Scoop. As somebody who approves your expenses and how much you love room service, and I see you've got a video room service from Pontefract as well we're going to watch now. Is this a horse on your radar?
Yeah, he certainly is, Dave. Obviously trained by Kevin Ryan, who's got a fantastic record in the Ayr Gold Cup. I think he's got 5 runners, hasn't he, Saturday? And this is one of them in the yellow sleeves at the back there. Room service. You can see he's just off the bridle a little bit, and that is the one concern I have with him on Saturday. You do think he might get outpaced, but he's certainly classy, and I think a well-run stiff 6 furlongs is going to suit this horse. He's only had the 7 runs, and he ran behind Elite Status in the Carnarvon Stakes early in the season, and also the Greenham at Newbury. So he is a classy horse, a 3-year-old, already rated 105, and this is one of the reasons why, because it's the last time we saw him, and he winning a handicap here off a mark of 100, and he does it really well. So he's had wind surgery since this day. Kevin Ryan's got a good record with horses coming off that procedure, and I think his chance is there for all to see. It's just that little niggle that he might get outpaced that he's just weighing on my mind off this mark.
Another Ryan runner, I think, Sergeant Wilco. We've got video footage of him at Goodwood. In front there, Matt, what do you like about this one?
Well, this is what he does, isn't it? And he's an absolute thriving 3-year-old, again, from Kevin Ryan, who targets the meeting. So, yeah, loads to like about him. He just keeps going from strength to strength. And with these sprint handicappers, it can be dangerous to underestimate them. I think he's probably going to set the pace as well, isn't he? He's drawn in 9 at Ayr. There are pace horses a bit higher as well, so there's probably no real excuse. But Sergeant Wilco, yeah, he just keeps absolutely thriving. He finds loads for pressure. He's there in the noseband towards the near side, and he's kind of done it on a variety of tracks as well. This was him winning at Goodwood, fast downhill track, but he's won it on slightly stiffer courses as well. So loads to like about him. Again, he's another one. He's kind of about the right price, I think.
His form's good, isn't it? Baldemera in the orange sleeves come out and won at Doncaster. Rumstar was a half a length fifth in the end in the Portland, so it looks strong form.
I think most of his form all summer has worked out well. And whereas in the past you get to sort of the autumn time around this time of year and you're kind of looking at some of these horses that have been winning on the decent ground, you might be looking elsewhere. But in fact, Sergeant Wilco, he's actually had a bit of cut in the ground, hasn't he, for most of his wins. So yeah, he's actually got it to prove if it gets really lively up there on Saturday. Now, I'm not sure. I don't think they're expecting any rain, but he's got a good chance.
By the time they get to the Gold Cup, we'll have had a Bronze Cup and a Silver Cup to get a gauge in the draw. We're recording before either of those two races. So we'll use the Timeform Pace Map Scoop to try to get an idea. Looking at what we've got to work with, where do you think you want to be housed?
Well, we've just talked about Sergeant Wilco, who's drawn in 9 on the far side. He looks the obvious pace from the low numbers. And then towards the near side, you've got the likes of Lethal Levi and Northern Express and Jordan Electrics, who's had a fantastic year. They look likely to make the run on the stand side. And you do look at the pace map and think middle to stand side. The high numbers might be where the perhaps larger group comes from. Certainly the early pace looks that side. They could split into 2 groups. We've seen it before in the Ayr Gold Cup. Obviously, big, wide, expansive track.
The early evidence as well, from Thursday, suggests you kind of want to be more towards that far side as well, don't you, which is lower. But
yeah, that would probably suggest 2 groups, because sometimes they congregate in the middle, don't they? But yeah, I would think they might split into a couple of groups here.
Oh, you've just split into 2 groups yourself now. Give me a selection for the Virgin Bet Gold Cup. I'll let you go first, Matt.
Yeah, I've got one we've not mentioned yet at a really big price. Aramis Gray, I think, could be a little bit over the odds at sort of 33s, 40s. She's another sort of thriving sprinter. She's a mare. Had a really good year. Hasn't actually been getting ahead in front, but keeps running really well and just hasn't had too many opportunities in these massive fields. She's a strong traveller, finds loads. She can find it herself in a bit of trouble because she likes to come from the back, but I do think there's going to be loads of pace. She'll chase the pace, and she probably wouldn't be lining up here in a sort of traditional old school Ayr Gold Cup on heavy ground because she does want decent conditions, but gets it here. I thought she was unlucky last time, and that was against Elmonjed at Windsor. Got messed about with a little bit at the start and then didn't get a clear run late on as well, so could easily have beaten that Elmonjed form that we kind of sees her tie in quite nicely with Stripe Red and some of these other horses as well. So sneaks in here off a good mark. I quite like her. She's like wild price.
A wild price for Matt, Scoop.
Well, we should talk about the favourite just briefly, American Affair. He's £3 wrong under his penalty for winning the Portland, but the way he got there last week over 5.5 at Doncaster does suggest that he might just thrive over this 6 furlongs at Ayr. So you can see why he's found his way to the head of the market. I'm a little bit worried he's amongst them low numbers on the far side, but I'm going to go with Mostabshire for John and Teddy Gosden. I think you can count your Ayr Gold Cup runners from the John Gosden yard on one finger probably, looking back through the previous renewals. But this horse, very classy, only had 1 go at 6 furlongs, was a really good run. He's on the same mark, £1 lower. I think he's got a really good chance.
Let's head to Newbury now for another 6 furlong race, a very different 6 furlong race. It's the Dubai Duty Free Mill Reef Stakes. We've got the Timeform ratings graphics, and this is typical of a 2-year-old contest. It's the clash between potential and proven form. The proven form, 117 top rated, Shadow of Light, Symbol of Strength 116 to Jim Crack, 2nd and 3rd. And the potential, well, that's Powerful Glory, who obviously we're following on Sporting Life. Series with Richard 5, Pontefract Maiden Winner 100p, the Unbeaten Defence Minister 104p, supplemented for Watton Racing. Matt, are you going with form or potential?
I think I've got to go with the form in this race. I realise that, horses like Powerful Glory bring a fair amount of potential, but, they aren't the only ones really, are they? And you've got a horse, horses at bigger prices that also have potential. Undersight's one. I'd give him half a chance. I think the fact that Calbert persists with him at Group 2 level, that run in the Jim Crack, he was well behind Shadow of Light. the other horse that day, but it was just one of those runs, wasn't it? It obviously had a bit of a hold up after winning quite nicely on debut at York earlier in the year, and I just wonder if that might straighten him out, tighten him up a little bit. But the fact that Burke persists at Group 2 level is telling in itself. And Shadow of Light, really, he should be favourite, in my opinion. He really does set the standard. He raced at York in the gimcrack out towards the centre of the course when the winner was over towards the far side. And if you looked on that very same day, the next 3 races won by Bradsell, Canoodled, and then the Convivial Maiden, where they were all very much towards the far side. I think he might have been on the worst part of the track there, Shadow of Light at York. So, yeah, I would mark his run up a little bit in the gimcrack. He could easily have won on another day.
Scoop, Mill Reef?
What do you think about Powerful Glory, Dave? Because obviously you followed him closely all year.
I helped buy him.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. I helped source him.
I mean, he's so short in the betting. He's so much potential.
I'm amazed his favourite. Richard thinks the world of him. Apparently his last piece of work was brilliant, but he's £17 behind on time form.
Yeah.
Big. He's won it before with Supplicant and Ribchester, very different profiles. Ribchester was only having his 3rd run, but been second in a gimcrack. He was still a maiden. Supplicant had run 7 times. I think Powerful Glory could run really well and finish 3rd or 4th, and I think that could be a springboard. But the worry is the ground. The thunderstorms, as we speak, we don't know what they've got at Newbury. You don't need to get to an extreme. I wouldn't have thought for many of these.
Well, yeah, that is true, and we don't know when we're recording what the ground's going to be, but there are thunderstorms in the area. If it does turn soft, I would give a shout to Brian for Sylvester Kirk. He's got a very good record on soft ground, including at this track. Hacked up at Newbury early in the season, won by nearly 5 lengths at Newmarket on soft ground as well, and wasn't beaten far in the Sirenia Stakes last time behind Symbol of Strength, who brings the gimcrack form to the table. So I think if it does genuinely turn soft, Brian has got a chance. If it doesn't, I'll probably be looking elsewhere, the likes of Powerful Glory, maybe even Symbol of Strength himself. But I think it's very key what the weather does.
Go on then, best bet for the weekend. You can go next, Matt. I think we're heading back to Ayr for yours.
Yeah, Silver Cup for me. I really like this 2 tribes. Richard Spencer trains. Spencer seems to target this meeting, obviously Revich and a few others over the years, but 2 tribes, it just hasn't quite panned out for him this year, but Spencer's always held him in pretty high regard. Wanted to run him at Royal Ascot last year and he had to be withdrawn at the start. But the comeback run at Newmarket was second to James's Gate. It shaped really well that day. The forms worked out well. Chagrin was 3rd. Those 2 have gone on to improve their marks considerably. And 2 Tribes runs off a similar sort of rating. I think you can ignore the last run. That was at Ascot in the Rohan race. The race just didn't pan out for him at all. He was looked after on soft ground as well. Back on a decent service is good. And if you go back, I think he actually ran in that Constantine handicap, Dave, that we saw a little bit earlier on at York when he was in amongst those Ayr Gold Cup horses. So, he's got a fantastic each-way chance, I think, in the Silver Cup.
Silver Cup for Matt. Scoot, where are you heading for your best bet?
Well, Matt's mentioned him.
Oh!
Same trainer, Richard Spencer, Revich, in the opening 1:15 at Ayr, a race he's won twice before and has been beaten in a photo in. So obviously he likes the context. It's a little bit like a flat Langerdan scenario here.
We're not going to boo him back in, are we? Do we have to drive up to boo?
We could boo him back in. I'll be cheering him though because I'm going to back him. I think he's got a fantastic chance. He's got 5 duck eggs next to his name on the form. He's not been running well at all this season, but I think there's been a lot of encouragement on his last 2 starts at Goodwood and Chester, where things haven't panned out for him. He was troubling running at Goodwood, wasn't beaten too far. Last time at Chester, drawn wide, 5 horsewhips all the way, wasn't touched with the whip, just hands and heels home for a 5-length 11th. But I think there's plenty of encouragement there, especially seeing as the handicap has dropped him £5 for those 2 runs, so he's really well treated off 88, especially on his form in this race. He's won it off 95 and 92 before, and he's not 66 to 1 and 100 to 1 like he has been earlier in the season. He's 8 to 1 on Saturday, but those odds will do for me.
There you go. 8 to 1 Revich for Scoop. Thanks to Matt, Ben, for their thoughts. Good luck with your own weekend bet. So we'll be back next weekend to look ahead to a mouthwatering card at Newmarket. It doesn't get much easier though. The Cambridge is on it.